Did you know Samsung is finally rumored to be working on the wider Galaxy Z Fold everyone has been asking for? A foldable that actually feels like a normal phone when closed and like a real tablet when open. But in the very same leak, there's already one big red flag that could undermine the whole point of this upgrade. For years, the Galaxy Z Fold lineup has had one frustrating, everyday problem. When the phone is closed, it just doesn't feel like a regular smartphone. The cover display is tall, narrow, and awkward. Yes, it works. You can type, you can scroll, you can reply. But it never truly feels natural in the hand, and when you're paying foldable prices, "it works" is not a high enough standard. Now, leaks are pointing to a new direction for 2026, a wider foldable, reportedly called the Galaxy Z Fold 8. Wide. On paper, it sounds like exactly what fans have been wanting since the original Fold was announced. Shorter and wider when closed, and more tablet-like when fully opened. In other words, a design that finally matches how people actually type, scroll, multitask, and use their phones all day. But then you look at the leaked renders, and there's something missing. It appears to have only 2 rear cameras. If that turns out to be accurate, Samsung's long-awaited course correction could turn into yet another cautious half-step. At this stage, that's already disappointing. Let's start with what the wide design gets right, because the shape matters more than some people admit. The first Galaxy Fold's front display felt like a preview strip, not a primary screen. Could use it, but typing was cramped, and many apps looked squeezed into a tall slit. Over time, Samsung made the cover screen a bit more usable, but it kept that TV remote candy bar vibe far too long, even while rivals moved toward wider, passport-style foldables. A lot of Fold owners eventually got used to it, but getting used to something isn't the same as it being good. This is supposed to be your everyday phone when the device is closed, and that cover screen is the one you rely on for quick replies, navigation, mobile payments, music controls, and one-handed scrolling. If that screen feels compromised, the whole device ends up feeling compromised. That's why the Galaxy Z Fold 8 wide rumors are so compelling. The idea is simple. Make the phone, when closed, feel much more like a conventional slab smartphone. Wider keyboard, less thumb stretching, more natural app layouts, and far less of that narrow tunnel feeling when you're just trying to answer a message or browse social media. On the inside, the redesigned main display is rumored to move closer, to a more square 4:3-ish aspect ratio. That makes it feel more like a compact tablet than a stretched rectangle. For reading, browsing, editing photos, split-screen multitasking, and even watching videos while scrolling comments, a more tablet-like canvas makes a real difference. There's even a specific rumor that the Galaxy Z Fold 8 Wide's internal aspect ratio will be close to the iPad's. If that's true, Samsung's target is very clear. A small tablet that folds into your pocket, instead of a tall foldable that always feels slightly odd in both modes. So how wide are we talking? 1. Report claims the Galaxy Z Fold 8 Wide will be significantly larger and broader than the standard Fold 8, not just a subtle tweak. The comparison floating around the leaks is simple. The Wide is the version that finally looks like the foldable people imagined back when the first foldable prototypes were being teased. Here are the rumored unfolded dimensions. Galaxy Z Fold 8, standard, 158.4 x 143.2 x 4.5 mm Galaxy. Z Fold 8 Wide, 123.9, 161.4 x 4.9 mm. Ignore the exact numbers for a moment and focus on what they imply. The wide version is substantially broader in one orientation, taller in the other, and slightly thicker. More importantly, it shifts the whole feel of the device away from tall phone that opens bigger and toward small tablet that folds shut. That's a real design philosophy. And Samsung has been slowly inching in that direction already. Recent Z Fold generations have crept toward more practical cover screen ratios. The Z Fold 7, for example, moved closer to a 21.9 cover display, and both reviewers and owners generally liked it because it made the closed phone feel less compromised. Tao. Rumored Z Fold 8 Wide looks like Samsung finally taking that logic to its natural endpoint. So why is there already disappointment? Because of those camera leaks. Multiple renders claim the Galaxy Z Fold 8 Wide will ship with only 2 rear cameras. Nothing here is official yet, but even as a rumor, this detail says a lot about how Samsung might be thinking about this product. If Samsung really ships its wider, more expensive foldable with only 2 rear cameras, something important is being cut. And on a premium foldable, camera cuts aren't minor. They translate into daily limitations. Look at the Z Fold 7 as a reference point. It uses a triple rear camera setup, a 200MP main sensor, a 12MP, ultra-wide, a 10MP telephoto with 3x optical zoom. It's not the most extreme camera system on the market, but it's versatile. It's the minimum you expect from a flagship: a standard lens, a wide lens, and a zoom lens. Those 3 tools cover the majority of real-world shooting scenarios, from landscapes and group shots to portraits and distant subjects. Now imagine the wide fold dropping to just 2 cameras. The obvious question is, which one disappears? Realistically, Samsung isn't going to remove the main camera, and cutting the ultra-wide on a premium flagship would be hard to justify. That leaves one likely candidate: the telephoto. And losing. A telephoto lens isn't just a tiny spec change for camera nerds. It changes the way the phone captures everyday moments. Without dedicated optical zoom, you're forced to rely on digital zoom more often, which means softer detail and lower quality when you want to get closer, at events, on trips, or even just when photographing your kids or pets from across the room. Functionally, 2 cameras means 2 focal lengths. You don't get that clean, crisp, optical 2-3x zoom that so many people quietly rely on more than they realize. So why would Samsung make a decision like this? The obvious technical explanation is internal space. A wider foldable changes how components can be stacked. The hinge structure, the larger folding display, the battery layout, cooling systems, and the company's thickness goals all compete for volume inside the chassis. On paper, a 2-camera island is simpler and more compact than a full triple-camera array, but then you look back at those rumored dimensions. The Z Fold 8 Wide is supposed to be 4.9mm thick unfolded compared to 4.5mm for the standard Fold 8. If the new model is already a bit thicker, it's hard not to question why there wouldn't be enough room to maintain a complete camera setup. That leads to a different, more strategic explanation. Product segmentation. Samsung is well known for carving up features across models. It's a common play. Fix one pain point on one version, reserve another big upgrade for a different version, and stretch improvements across generations so there's always a reason to buy the next model. In this case, the strategy could look like this. Fix the shape now on the wide version, but reserve the full camera system either for the regular Fold 8 or for a future Fold 9 wide refresh. This might make sense from a portfolio perspective, but foldables are already asking for several big compromises from mainstream buyers. They're more expensive, they're perceived as more fragile, and they raise more concerns about durability and repair costs. The pitch for a high-end foldable has to be simple and strong. This one device replaces both your phone and your small tablet without sacrificing core features. That's exactly why the Galaxy Z Fold 8 Wide rumor is such a pivotal moment. If Samsung gets it right, it could finally deliver a foldable that feels truly normal as a phone when closed and legitimately tablet-like when open. That's the original foldable promise. But if it arrives with a weaker camera system than last year's model, that promise immediately loses some of its power. It sends a very specific message to buyers. You can have comfort or you can have capability. Choose one. On a device that's likely to cost well above a standard flagship, people understandably want both. There's also the timing factor. Current leaks suggest Samsung could announce the Z Fold 8 lineup, including the wide model, at an unpacked event in July or August 2026, though the exact date may float as Samsung continues to adjust its launch calendar. The subtext behind this: timing is obvious. Samsung wants a stronger foldable position before Apple's first foldable device potentially arrives.